Okay, perfect. And share screen again. I started with a small failure, but it's okay. Everything in Catalyst is an experiment, so things may break. We already know that. So basically, as the Catalyst School, we provide a series of live sessions and workshops, and also one-to-one and group multi-language support. So basically, from the next week, we will open a form to ask for basically individual session or group session in for 13 different languages. And also we are working on the website that will be released soon. So it will be just a place to collect all the content that we created for the various challenges. And one of the basic workshop that we are providing, and we started today and in the afternoon all last week, was about the introduction to Project Catalyst. And in general, we will have a specific workshop for each role in Catalyst. So as a proposer, as a community advisor, a veteran community advisor. And as an experiment, as I said before, for this fund, we will provide basically a series of workshops specific for challenges. And now we are here for the challenge of the Accelerate Decentralized Identity. And we have here the Atala Prism team that will present the challenge and offer us support about the challenge itself, how to address it, and so on. So Anushka, it's your time.
Thanks, Lucio. Well done. That really helps. I must say that whole navigation of Catalyst is interesting. Hi, everybody. So my name is Anushka Soma Patel. I'm from sunny Cape Town because it's summer now, but in winter it's not so sunny. But it's not as crazy as some of the snow pictures I've seen from some of my IO colleagues. So I'm part of the Atala Prism team. I've just been employed in January only, so it's a month, as the product manager for ecosystem. So today I'm representing our team along with Pete Vielhaber, who's on the line, as well as Lohan Spis and Urosh. I can't see Urosh here yet, but Urosh will also be joining us. Oh, you there?
Yeah,
you know, I've seen 3 of my name here.
Yeah. Probably because of the link, but we are here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yes, you can see I've shared my my link with my colleagues, so there's lots of me on the line. Cool. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know if you can see this. Share.
All good.
Okay, can you see that? Cool. So I am more excited tonight about listening to all of you that are on the line and your dreams and hopes for SSI, because my journey with self-sovereign identity started about 4 years ago. Funnily enough, it started with Lohan Spis, who actually joins the IO team today. So welcome, Lohan. And, you know, when I got introduced to self-sovereign identity, I was totally fascinated at the potential that this technology can bring about in this world, like what change it can actually bring about and how it can make my life easier, you know, compared to all the forms I need to fill out and sign and get verified copies of my identity and send it to a whole lot of people because I want to do business with them. So I really believe that this technology can revolutionize the way we handle administration today. But more than just that, you know, what we do understand is that this technology can put you in control of your identity and the credentials that are associated with you and given to you. And other people would not have the ability to just take that information or your identity away from you. And I think that's the most fascinating thing that this technology offers. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going through what our challenge is about, And then we'll open the floor up for each of us on the call to actually share, your insights about this challenge that we are raising, and to also share with us your visions for what you believe this can bring about. The whole aim of the insights sharing session is to make sure that community members like yourselves are able to ask whatever questions you need to, so that next week you have the ability to write quite a nice proposal that can address the challenge that we're going to discuss today. And if you have more questions, you can join us tomorrow as well. And if you have more questions, our teams also opened up some office hours that you can book using Calendly. So let's get rolling then. So our challenge is called Accelerate Decentralized Identity. We've managed to secure $500,000 US in ADA, 4 proposals that win this challenge. This challenge focuses on interoperability within the SSI ecosystem. It focuses on community networks and building those strong community networks that can really help us drive adoption of self-sovereign identity on the Cardano blockchain. And more importantly, I added this today to say that it actually also focuses on credential verifications, because there's no use me just having a credential if nobody is going to ask me for that particular credential when I'm doing business with them or when I'm interacting with them. And so it's really looking at what are those credentials that need to be verified and who are the people that can issue those, because those will make for strong use cases when you submit your proposals. So why now? Why are we actually talking about self-sovereign identity and accelerating decentralized identity? Well, SSI has been discussed for many years now. Lohan may know the exact number of seconds because he's been involved from the very beginning. But where we are now, people are starting to talk about the convergence of crypto and SSI. So we've got our crypto wallets, we've got our SSI wallets, but we really need to start thinking about, in our daily lives, how is it that self-sovereign identity is going to be brought closer with the concept of crypto, and what is that going to mean? And I think as I go through the slides, you'll get a glimpse of that. And if you have more questions, we can dig deeper into it during our discussion. So we also notice that, there's been a bottom-up groundswell of self-sovereign identity that's been happening over the years. But now what we're starting to see is a top-down enablement that's starting to happen in different places. So if we take the Cardano blockchain as an example, you all would have heard about the use case or the project that was signed up with the government of Ethiopia to start with education credentials in Ethiopia. So that's like going to issue education credentials to 5 million learners in Ethiopia, so that you can already see the government starting to work and think about self-sovereign identity and that top-down approach. Our opportunity on this call today is really, saying, how do we look at interoperability, and how do we start making sure that when we are building on Cardano or when we are providing feedback to the teams at Cardano that are building on Cardano, how do we make sure that we're building sustainable solutions that are interoperable? Because as IO, we really believe that, we're not going to be or there shouldn't be just one blockchain to rule them all. There will be multiple blockchains in use, and we've got to make sure that we factor in the interoperability side of it. The other opportunity is also bottom up, right? So while we have corporates, big existing corporates and governments looking top down, or working top down, we've got to think about how do we help the individual or the small entrepreneurs or the smaller businesses that actually have great use cases that we can bring to life on our network. And this is the opportunity we have with Project Catalyst, because you could secure some funding for your proposal, and which will help you to bring some sort of project to life on the Cardano technology stack. We're also thinking about self-governance, and the opportunity is also here for everyone in the room to start thinking about, well, what does self-governance mean and how would it work? How can we enable it? You'll see a slight glimpse. I'll touch on it in a few slides from now. But, just start thinking about, what does self-governance mean? How is it going to work? How would someone trust an identity or a credential that's issued by one organization to actually use in a business process of a second organization? So those are the things we need to start thinking about. And then thirdly, we also need to be thinking about decentralized autonomous organizations. Do we know of, or do we have cool functionality today that actually does verify certain information? So for example, if I have an app and it does a liveliness test and it does some kind of facial recognition and it's verifying my identity number and my face with the Department of Home Affairs, and I have access to that database to verify an identity, can I build a DAO to actually provide identity credentials in those ecosystems? So that's also an opportunity when it comes to DAOs and thinking about, how could this work? How could we enable decentralized autonomous organizations within our ecosystem? We're also looking for good solutions, right? And what makes a solution good? So a solution to us, a good solution to us, is one where you're thinking of a use case within a small ecosystem or a large ecosystem, but this particular use case can be used repeatedly. So not just within, a bunch of 10 friends, but, can the same example be used within a bunch of another 10 friends? Can it be used broader within different organizations or jurisdictions or different parts of the world? So can this use case expand? So you work on it once, you come up with a set of rules, and you just start refining it as you expand it. That'll make for good use cases. And then a roadmap to grow network and expand the network effect. What we're talking about here is, you may come up with some ideas and you've got the IO team, the Atala Prism team in the room working alongside you. And if you feel that, listen, I really need the following functionality for my use case to be brought to life, it's something you can discuss with us, and we can make sure that it goes onto our roadmap so that you can deliver on this amazing vision that you have. In terms of good outcomes, what makes for good outcomes? Definitely the repeatable patterns and tools that enable self-governance, as well as pioneer communities leading the way in the real world. So it's not just about the top-down approach that we're taking, but it's also about this community coming together and leading the way in the real world to say, hey, look at what's possible. And we could work together to say, how do we make sure that other people hear about these amazing solutions that we're bringing about, especially if they are scalable and repeatable? So on this slide here, what I was trying to show you is, or just explain a little bit further, is that we've got the trust over IP framework, and there are different role players within the self-sovereign identity ecosystem, right? So I'm just going to start with the trust over IP framework. You've got the IO team that's building your layer one technology. And, we then need to make sure that that layer one technology is properly governed. And that happens through all of the ways in which Cardano manages governance today, and how we'll be decentralizing governance going forward as well. But on top of that blockchain and the APIs that IO builds, we're still going to need wallets, right? Wallets so that people can actually issue credentials and verify credentials. So we've got the issuer and the verifier, and also so that people can hold credentials. So we need those wallets to be built. From Fund 7, we've got a winning team that's already started building a wallet on that layer. And then the next layer starts talking about the ability to issue verified credentials between wallets and then verify those credentials. So you can see again, the issue, the holder, and the verifier start getting involved. and they need to have a way to trust each other. And the way in which they trust each other is built into layer 4 when we talk about application ecosystems. And the way we understand it is that that happens through a trust registry. So today, some governance authority will manage a trust registry that says these are the issuers that are allowed to issue this credential. So for example, is Anushka allowed to issue a national identity, or is it only the government allowed to issue a national identity? Or are the banks allowed to issue a national identity? I guess if it's me, then I'm probably not, and you won't find me in the registry. And then we need to say, holders will use this registry to say, well, who are actually valid issuers of identities or other credentials? And then we'll have verifiers, and verifiers will be listed in the registry because we need to be able to say, well, who's allowed to ask you for your identity, and how can you trust the people that are asking you for identity? But verifiers will also use this trust registry to identify trusted issuers. So just a brief story on that. The next slide goes on to the Atala Prism operating model. So what we actually have going on here is that we have ideation happening within Project Catalyst, which is the key driver of necessary innovation, right? Because as IO, we've done some research, we've built some basic building blocks. So we have APIs and SDKs available for self-sovereign identity. And now it's about us starting to work collaboratively together to make that even better and even stronger, whilst you build your use cases and your business models and your new businesses on top of this layer. Then we talk about the Pioneer Program. We offer the Pioneer Program, which is training and certification of developers and early adopters as part of the Atala Prism Pioneer Program. So this program was run once, all of the content has been created, and all people that propose, that submit proposals towards our challenge or towards the other SSI challenge that is listed will get entry into that program when we're done with this round of Catalyst. And then we start talking about partnerships. So how do we start enabling the people that come through Catalyst or through the Pioneer Program with great ideas? Basically, we identify high-value use cases and develop partner networks. So we can start talking about, what are you actually building? What skills and knowledge do you bring to the table? How can we help supplement that skills and knowledge if needed? And we'll start talking about potential partnerships if needed. And we can then also look at this Catalyst Boost Camp that is offered, and you'll hear about that towards the end of this program. Because you might be able to get some more help from this Cardano ecosystem to participate in the Catalyst Boost Camp. And then there may also be VC opportunities where you could get funded for your proposals. But we know that for now, the funding is coming through the Catalyst program for us. And then when it comes to distribution, we have a commercial team and we have a preferred services group pipeline. And basically, we would also have more consultants here that could support you through your proposal that you submit. So through your, bringing your successful proposal to life. So when you're going about putting in your proposal, think about the fact that you do have other resources that you could bring in and cost when you're saying this is how much of funding I need. You may be able to bring in other resources and actually cost them into your proposal so that you have a strong proposal and a higher likelihood of being successful in implementing that proposal going forward. So what the program also promises you is access to quite a healthy ecosystem that we have, right? But what we're also seeing is as you're building your use cases and you're working with other people in the community and discussing what you're building, you will have access to different ecosystems, and that could accelerate the development of healthy ecosystems within this Cardano network and within the world at large. And this could be within each of these verticals, which is telecoms, education, governance, impact, supply chain, healthcare, finance. But if you think about SSI or self-sovereign identity, we want to put the person, the individual, the you, me, and the everyday person at the center of their identity. And we want to say, we understand that, if they get a contract at a telephone company, they might need to share that contact information with their child's school. And so an issued credential could be verified by a school, because today we share with phone numbers with a whole lot of different organizations, right? So you'll see that there's opportunity to start making sure you're thinking about different verticals when you're coming up with your use cases. So down here at the bottom, there's links in this presentation. Lucio can confirm if we're sharing this presentation or how we'll be sharing these links. But this is basically to Tony Rose, myself, and Peter's calendars, where we will give you 25 minutes. I think each of us have set aside 2 hours just to provide open office hours for anyone that wants to discuss their proposal in further detail or just wants to bounce around ideas. We are really opening our calendars to support you and make sure that you are successful in whatever it is you're trying to do. This slide was created because we don't want you to get confused. There are 2 SSI challenges that are raised during Catalyst Fund 8. The one is called Self-Sovereign Identity, and the other one is called Accelerate Decentralized Identity. So my colleague, or not colleague, but one of our community members, Rodolfo, and his team are running the Self-Sovereign Identity Challenge. They've secured $400,000 in ADA for this challenge, and we've secured 500. So together we've got a pot of $900,000 of ADA that, to put towards proposals for self-sovereign identity. The biggest difference between these two is that in the self-sovereign identity challenge, they're really focusing on receiving high-value projects, growing participation on the SSI discussions that are taking place, and partnering with ecosystem governance and working groups. So they really, while they are looking at projects, they're also looking at community discussions and participation, and how do we increase that participation and collaboration. Their success metrics are the number of proposals that directly address SSI in a quantifiable manner, the quality of proposals measured by community interest and engagement, and the awareness of Cardano inside the SSI community, working groups and governance entities. So that's that challenge. In terms of the challenge that our team is running, we're really focusing on identifying high-value credentials. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, also the discovery of repeatable patterns to leverage the Cardano decentralized infrastructure. So high-value credentials and repeatable. Those are the types of projects we're looking for. So metrics that will help you to think about, how would I know how to measure success of my solution? Well, if you're thinking about, how many realized production pilots are now launching in 2022. So we really want to see those proposals that are planning to launch this year and do something big this year already, because we want to be able to count those. And we want to be able to support those to really be successful on the network. The discovery of repeatable patterns in use cases, key thing we are looking for. The number of issuers, holders, and verifiers. Remember, if you're talking about credentials that are issued and being verified many times, these metrics will start looking good because you'll have holders and you'll have many verifiers when you're building out your proposals. And then the number of verifications performed on credentials in production. So what we and our team really wants to do is support you to be successful, not just in a sandbox or in a pilot area or in a POC area. We really want to see you being successful on our production environment soon. So that's it when it comes to the one-way dialogue from me. I'm now going to open up to each of you so that you can share an intro of yourself as well as your insights. Lucio, are we allowed to share these Google Drive links to this document?
Yes.
So that the team can participate?
Yep. Just use the chat if you can share the link.
Sorry, is there a message in there? I don't know how to stop sharing. Let's stop sharing. Okay, so let me see if I can get you a link to this document, and then I'll give you 5 minutes of quiet time to think. And then we'll take it from there. Where's this chat gone?
On the bottom, near to share screen, you have a chat button.
Yeah, I think I just lost my screen. Sorry. Oh, you're on Zoom.
And one small correction. On one of the slides, it was, I think you said preferred services group. It's actually the professional services group.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, can everyone see the link in the chat?
We need access to it. When I open it, it asks for access.
Okay, so you can ask for access and I will approve it. Or shall we just chat and then I'll capture the notes? What would you prefer?
It might be easier to chat and take notes.
Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so I'm going to just go from, you're welcome to tag each other and say who should go next. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick on someone and we can start there. Is that okay? We'll start with Sean because he's next to me on the screen, on my screen.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm Sean Kelly. I'm currently work as an assistant principal at a career and tech high school here in Boise, Idaho. And so just kind of came into Cardano almost a year now. And what really brought me to and intrigued me about Cardano was the Atala Prism and being in education. And so one of our big focuses is on work-based learning, workforce development at my school. And so we're pioneering youth apprenticeships, full-on registered youth apprenticeships through the Department of Labor with different industries. And so that's what intrigued me. We're looking at high-value credentials, and you guys mentioned that in the proposal. And so registered apprenticeship is one of the highest credentials, at least in the United States of America, but really across the world. Apprenticeship work, America is kind of late to the game, I would say, a little bit compared to Europe, especially in terms of apprenticeship. And so with work-based learning, I think there's a lot of opportunity for high schools, secondary and post-secondary. When you think about with post-secondary, they've got to kind of get on board because a lot of people are questioning the value of a post-secondary education in many terms, in terms of the cost. And so more and more people are looking at these high-value credentials, registered apprenticeship being one of them. But my whole focus is creating, I guess, a DAP, a company that helps, starting off with secondary and post-secondary schools to issue their own credentials to their students, which then in turn, and I think we should start with students because they're the most tech savvy, and as they're coming out and they're graduating, that's going to then push industry, who the student is going to come out and say, hey, I've got this registered apprenticeship, or I earned this Cisco networking certification. Here, I can share it with you. And the employer is going to be, what do you mean share it with me? And so it's going to, I guess it fits that bottom up mentality that you guys mentioned. So I'm trying to verbalize that. I'm in the insight. I haven't put it out on ID scale yet, but that's what I'm looking at right now is work-based learning, credentials, certifications that our students are earning in as early as high school, but definitely into post-secondary trade schools, in helping industries offer their own certifications and credentials. I think there's just a huge opportunity there. And so that's what got me excited about Cardano in the first place, was actually hearing about Atala Prism and the Ethiopia project. Thank you.
Fantastic, Sean. That's amazing. I mean, there's lots of room in education. If you think about it, I don't know how many people lie about their credentials when they're applying for a job, but this now, gives organizations the opportunity to say, oh, okay, so I don't have to go to every institution to check if Anushka actually completed this. I can actually just verify it against the blockchain if I'm on this, technology, now if I'm using this technology. So there's definitely value in what you're looking at. And there's so much that you can then build around that particular use case going forward. That sounds really great. Peter and Lohan, is there anything you want to add to that?
I agree. It's one of the things that I think is very, very important when it comes to being able to track any type of educational background, whether it's a certificate of completion of something or if it's an apprenticeship or anything like that. I mean, but you can take the idea of the apprenticeship, right? You can repeat that idea for certifications from Cisco and stuff like that. It fits exactly what we're looking for. And it's something that's not just a cool idea, right? It's something that has a legitimate purpose in the world. And that's the thing that is exciting to me about it as well, is stuff like that is where it has a legitimate purpose already and a need for it already. It's, again, especially in the US. I'm in the US, so I totally understand what you were saying. So yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot.
Thanks, Pete. So you're on the right track. Keep going. Thorsten, do you want to go next?
Sure. I have to say, Sean and all, that's kind of put the bar quite high. So thanks for that. Yeah, I'm actually a challenge team member of the SSI challenge. So I wanted to kind of just see what you guys are doing and understand what we guys are doing. And I'm pretty new to the whole topic, actually. But it's always good to kind of to cross over and see what unites and what differentiates. So I was just here to learn, actually, and to see which stream you're taking. So that's my background, actually.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's really good to have you here. I was like,
Perhaps,
Rodolfo, is someone from your team going to be here? So I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Perhaps, I mean, I'm starting now to think out of the discussion actually about things. I'm coming from a healthcare medical device manufacturer. So this healthcare topic kind of catch me in a certain way, because there are certain things which are playing in that area. So I don't know where that would land or where that wouldn't land, but there is definitely also a challenge in the context of, is someone qualified to do something in a certain context? Yes, no. Because you cannot touch any medical device. You wouldn't be so happy to lie in an MRI scanner when you know that effectively the technician wasn't qualified to maintain it, for example. So there is a big area in that area where I don't know yet how that lands. I will just observe it and perhaps kind of something sparks up on that side.
That's a very good point that you make. So Sean's educational credentials could eventually tie into what you're thinking in terms of medical things. But I think since you're new to...
Or I'm also an auditor, so kind of ISO standards. It's always kind of a pain in the butt to collect effectively, we have to check first that you are qualified to do this work on us. And it's kind of like, and you're sending this stuff off again and again and again. So perhaps there is also some room in that area. So, well, let's wait and see.
Absolutely. And I think you can also start thinking about the fact that, you know, identities can be created not just for people, but also for things and for organizations. So
certifications, like ISO certifications, are one of the main pain points in our industry. Of course, we have to collect them all the time, and it's a pain. Every single supplier, you ask the same question, you're chasing the same stuff, and perhaps there is some leverage on that one. So keep talking, I get some ideas. Let's see what's coming out as a proposal.
Yeah, I actually talked to somebody in the last fund, in Fund 7. They didn't submit their proposal. I don't know if they're going to do it in this one or not, but he was actually on the board of aerospace engineering, I think. So like for airplanes and stuff. And they were talking about doing that exact same thing, because apparently everything inside of an airplane has to get registered and has to have a documentation history and everything of being certified and everything's. So yeah, it's
we are in. So we have actually, and if it's about things, we have two things, like, and when you think about it, it's kind of clear. On the one hand side, how did you design a medical device? Something goes wrong, you have to going back to a reference point to say, well, but we did the right thing, and it obviously has to be auditable, which means you cannot modify it, and the FDA is playing a big role in that one. And on the other side, every single device has to have a history. Every single part you're changing has to be recorded on that one, and that's a pain point. So let me pick this up and perhaps kind of have some discussions internally. By the way, it's a big company. It's a big one. It's not GE, by the way, as you can imagine.
Okay. This might be a top-down use case. But we need a bottom-up to kind of catalyze it through Catalyst. So excuse the pun. But yeah, absolutely, Thorsten. Thanks for sharing. Anthony.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. It's my first time sort of being involved in this discussion with Atala. I really came here to understand the team and understand where you guys are at and what you have to offer. I have a funded proposal from Catalyst 7 that I'd like to include decentralized identity in transactions for in some of the payload for transactions for point of sale and that sort of thing. So I'm really interested in how like businesses can prove transactions happened, or how individuals can prove, if they needed to by, say, regulation, they can prove a chain of a transaction. So I'm really interested in how Atala can work with that in some sort of API, or what you guys are thinking and how you're tying this into wallets and that sort of thing, or how people who are building wallets are tying this into Atala. So I'm really interested in the mechanism that's going on there. And yeah.
Did you said you had a proposal that was funded in Fund 7? Was that for the Accelerate Decentralized Identity?
No, it was
challenge?
for seeding Cardano's DeFi.
Okay, I'll send you a message here in the chat to get some of your information. We actually have, we're going to be doing something for the challenges that were funded. I think the scope, I think Anushka was only the people who were in our challenge, but it sounds like you have some overlap there. So I'll get your information to invite you to that.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, and then in terms of your question about including decentralized identity information in payloads, and how do you prove that transactions actually happened, I think that's going to have to be a further discussion with a few other people. I would suggest that you book one of those office hours with Tony Rose, maybe, because he might be able to give you a lot of insights into some of the work he's done already in the past. We might be lucky enough to get Lohan give some people office hours too, as soon as he's older than 1 day old in Atala. And Pete's name is there. Lucio, shall I just share those links in the chat for the office hours?
Yep, I was doing that.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Urosh, can I leave that to you, please? You can get those links from the slide pack and paste it here. Thanks.
We did it.
Look at you guys. Thanks. You guys are too sharp. You're quicker than I can think. Thanks, Anthony, for your insights. So we'll see you in office hours, and I'm sure there'll be another workshop tomorrow as well. So if I can have any conversations with people before tomorrow's Accelerate Decentralized Identity workshop, then maybe tomorrow we can give you some insights as well. Okay, so maybe we'll see you there tomorrow. Otherwise, book an office hour with us and we'll try and find you some info. Nick, you next. Are you looking for the unmute button, Nick Smith?
Oh, I didn't hear you call my name. So yeah, no, thanks for the presentation. My name's Nick Smith. I'm the CTO of MedWave Software Systems. We make systems for hospitals and clinics. Most of our client base is in Latin America. I'm also a stake pool operator, and I was drawn to the whole conversation of SSI because of the work that I've been doing with telemedicine companies here in the United States. I've worked with telemedicine companies who are providing intensivist and specialist talent to hospitals. And in that space, there's a huge pain point in credentialing where each hospital has its own credentialing process, and it can take a very long time to get a new doctor approved and to see patients. And so I'm also contemplating submitting a proposal in Fund 8 in the Nation Building dApps Challenge, where Atala Prism DIDs are also one of the requirements for infrastructure-related solutions. So today was just here to hear the presentation and just learn about where the technology is at this point, and just find out about resources about how to learn more and get access to the training.
Okay, perfect. So I see you need access to training. I'm just going to put that down here as a need. And you said you're also one of the previous Catalyst winners, right?
No, I'm actually new to the Catalyst process. This is I was kind of lurking in Fund 7, and this is the first fund where I'm actually going to be participating.
Oh, fantastic. Well, good luck. Okay, cool. Please also book office hours with us just so that we can have the conversation and make sure you get what you need.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Pete, I'm skipping over you, and then it's, is it Michelle or Michael? Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, you're very soft.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Is that any better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Michael Senkner. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I'm coming at this whole thing from quite a different perspective. I'm new to the Cardano space. I'm from an education background. I'm very interested in pedagogy, curriculum, K-12, also post-secondary. I worked several years in instructional development in post-secondary, including in a med school, and worked on learning management systems for many years. So that's where I'm coming from. And because of that, I feel like I'm kind of coming from this grassroots because I'm coming in with the beginner's mind in a way, and I'm interested to see what I'm seeing as the assumptions about and my interest mostly about learning, and assessing learning and the assumptions that are there. And I feel kind of like an outsider. It's very interesting because we're thinking of this quite differently, actually. It feels to me that there are these bigger dimensions to the concept, like of decentralized identity. I'm glad you clarified this challenge from the self-sovereign identity challenge, because actually until this morning I was thinking of that, thought that was kind of the same thing. So thank you. And I may be even the wrong room kind of thing, but I'm so excited to be in this space because I'm sure that we're going to find a place here, and it's amazing to hear about all these resources that are available. And actually, if I could just get people's feedback a little bit, just on what I've already said, because although we have some specific ideas, specifically in the area of decentralizing certification in K-12, but we're kind of thinking just going in sort of the opposite direction of, because it feels like, the whole credentialing thing sounds to me like it is centralizing. And then we're thinking, I was just already thinking of it just from like a classroom point of view of group work being a decentralized possibility, So I'm thinking of it just from an opposite dynamic, and I'm feeling almost kind of vulnerable in this, because you're all deep in your disciplines thinking of it that way. So actually for this Fund 8, what we've actually come up with, among a couple of other ideas, is actually making a podcast exploring these different dimensions, like philosophical dimensions, legal dimensions, financial dimensions, and pedagogic dimensions when we're talking about education. Like for example, when I hear, like I did a certain amount with credentialing, like I'm familiar with, at least from the learning management system side of that. And, you know, from working within an admin environment, like for example, I looked at 3 different universities. So you know, I'm kind of like on a peripheral level of that. And also very interested in portfolio-based assessment, which I was peripherally involved with at Athabasca University in Alberta. It's an open university, and there it's not assuming that there is a set credential. It's assuming that adult learners who are coming into the back to school, maybe it's more appropriate from a curriculum assessment point of view to look at their qualitative measures as laid out in a portfolio. So I'm kind of more interested from that side of it. I'm not sure, you know, where I am today with all of you. It's great to meet you. So maybe I'll stop there. Thank you.
You're welcome, Michael. That's quite interesting. So yeah, I'm always open to having further discussions to understand a little bit more and how people are thinking about things. Happy to have a conversation. My office hours link is in the chat. I'd say book 30 minutes. Let's have a chat further and we can explore whether we are actually talking about something different or whether what you're thinking can actually be enabled by this tech as well. Because I think the fundamental building blocks of the tech is that someone can assess something and then issue a credential. So for example, the guy that comes to clean my garden, you can see how happy I am with him. Am I going to give him a credential to say, great gardener? No, I'm not.
Yes,
I'm going to say, young gardener
yes,
needing coaching.
So sort of like, yes, you are. We see this, that there could be a peer validation piece there. And it's a whole other topic, and I'm very happy to talk to people. I've just added my email there. Actually right now, what do people think of a podcast to explore these issues in a bigger lens? Like not so much in the technical problem solving, but kind of like the other aspects, like philosophical, token economy, you know, and like kind of broadening it up. That's what our proposal for Fund 8 is going to look at for in the self-sovereign identity side of it. So that's our focus for this time, to learn more and to learn from others, and so others can learn from each other, and we can open the dialogue more. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay, it's dialogue related, because I'm not hearing that it's use case related. It almost seems like, you know, the self-sovereign identity challenge may be better suited for those types of proposals compared to the accelerate decentralized identity. But you're still welcome to book office hours. We'll offer our time to both challenges, people from both challenges, both Peter, myself, Tony, and whoever else. So we are really open to having the conversation. I will not be sending you an email. I'd say click on the Calendly link and book a slot. I think that'll be much easier from outside just to manage the various people. Does the team have anything to input or say about the proposal to do podcasts?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I agree that probably the SSI challenge would probably be better. We did something like this actually during the Pioneer program. So in the program, we did something called Fireside Chats, where we sat down with other people from the industry who have tons of experience and discussed some of these ideas, whether it's kind of the large, big kind of picture ideas is like, how can this work, or getting into specific use cases, or just kind of like general, like the whole trust idea, right? Like, how do we manage trust? Is it something that should be built peer-to-peer and not have registries? Or, you know, how do you do that? And so there was a lot of very interesting discussions, and they were within the pioneers themselves. They were really, really receptive to it. I found them very beneficial myself. So I think this is a good idea, but I just think it would be probably better for the SSI challenge.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for that input. And I would like to follow up actually about the Pioneers program, more from a pedagogic side of, so I will follow up with you on that one. Thank you.
Cool.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's see who's next on my hit list. There's another Anushka, and then there's Benji. Let's listen to Benji.
Hi everyone, my name is Benji. Sorry, I come from a credit scoring background. I live in South Africa also. So our application is really around digital, verifiable digital receipts to augment credit scores for the unbanked or underbanked, and also as proof of ownership for high value items for insurance purposes. Yeah, so insurers struggle with fraud in the sense that people claim they own certain things that they don't own. So the solution would address that to a certain extent, certain degree. And then the underbanked thing is obvious. So as a single credential, the value of each of these credentials would not necessarily be extremely high, but it's a really repeatable pattern, and it's a high value, sorry, a high frequency occurrence, which cumulatively would then drive adoption and cumulatively offer higher value to an ecosystem, we believe. So that's the idea that we're considering. Yeah.
Great idea, Benji. Definitely needed. I mean, like, I've been thinking about, do I really have to figure out where my insurance contract is so that I can figure out whether I can claim for something that's lost or stolen? So it's like definitely the insurance one I can identify with.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you already thought about who you'd be working with, or a potential insurer or bank or institution that you may want to work closely with? Do you already have those networks and contacts to get going, or how far along the thought process or doing process are you?
Yeah, so the intention is to make it an open ecosystem, so any insurer can join and participate. So you would have an SSI wallet in the form of a mobile app. And we're pondering bringing in payments to make the value proposition to the consumer clearer. We were avoiding bringing in payments to stay lean and simplify the process, but we found that explaining just the use of verifiable digital receipts to a consumer and explaining the value add by just sitting on top of these as verifiable credentials is quite hard to understand if you're not an SSI. If you don't have a lot of knowledge about SSI, as we all here do. Sorry, to answer your question, coming from a credit scoring and insurance background, the demand side of the ecosystem, we do have established networks in South Africa, and we've had discussions with some insurers, and they've shown keen interest in access to the data. But the supply side is harder. FMCG, retailers, non-credits, convincing merchants to offload verifiable encrypted data to their consumer base, and explaining this process to them is a challenge. But again, I believe that once we bring in payments, conceptually explaining this process will be a lot easier to understand. So basically, we'd be saying we're a payments company that adds value-added services on top of the verifiable verifiable digital receipts that you release to your consumer. So instead of just emailing a PDF version of this receipt, you're sending it in a machine-readable, verifiable credential that the consumer can offload to an insurer or to a creditor to access financial services.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's easier to understand. I was hoping it would be.
That makes sense because I mean, every time someone talks about SSI, I try to put myself in the shoes of the holder to go, okay, so I'm going to buy something.
Yeah.
And instead of someone just giving me this piece of paper, I mean, I bought a carpet cleaner that wasn't cleaning carpets the other day. I have lots
Yeah.
of stories where I think of SSI.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, now what do I do? So I take it back. And the people I bought it from said, oh, no, it's too long. You can't get a refund. I was like, but I paid you like lots of money for this thing and it doesn't clean carpets. And that's the job I needed to do.
Yeah.
So they said, no, you have to go back to the manufacturer, but I have to have the conversation with the manufacturer because they didn't want to have it. Like, okay. And they're a middleman. And then the other day, like after like 3 months, these guys come back to me and they're like, well, we need to see a copy of your receipt.
Exactly. Keep the box. And no one keeps it, and it's actually data that's being thrown in the bin by 99% of the people. And SSI is I know it's very identity focused, but the fact that it enables end-to-end encryption and only the user has sight of this data, a big challenge without this tech is that it's such sensitive data that no one would want to share it with some sort of central authority. It would be, or solution provider. So we bypass that whole conundrum through the use of end-to-end encryption, and we ensure verifiability, which makes it applicable or can be used by the financial sector, by insurers and by bankers, by being able to verifiably prove that I do have this spending power or I did purchase this item. And I'm just like touching on the two immediate use cases, but there are a number of other use cases that can be added on top of all these receipts that you actually sit on. That's in a standardized machine readable format. Yeah. So
that was actually the part that sounded really interesting to me, is the insurance part of it, because you have this whole concept, right, of digital twins. So you kind of have a way to prove that you actually own something. And that in itself can be replicated in a ton of different use cases. Like I know in the US, there's a whole collector's market here, and being able to prove something. For example, I don't collect them, I actually use them, but I'm a musician. And if I'm going to go buy a guitar off Reverb or something like that, I would like to be able to know who's owned that guitar, was it serviced anywhere, that kind of stuff. And being able to track that, to me, would be really, really important, because I don't want to just, buy something that's broken.
That's exactly right.
But it's something that can definitely be replicated.
Yeah, replicated. So sorry, I didn't want to jump into all the use cases, but for example, that's exactly the correct example. The item that you purchased could take on its own digital identity, and you can change ownership of the item itself in secondhand markets and have a verifiable history of whatever is relevant to that item. For a car, it could be a service history, a verifiable service history, for instance. And the verifiable service history is not only relevant to the next purchaser of the car, but also to insurers. Again, sorry, I come from an insurer background, but that's where some of the money lies. Yep. And that there would be, for their scoring purposes, they would definitely pay to know if you've changed your tires regularly or if you've serviced your car regularly, because that's most likely an indicator that you won't crash your car. Most likely it won't get stolen either. Bring down your premiums, attract the right customers, etc., etc. Yep. Only possible through SSI, or at least end-to-end encryption and verifiable data. And it enables me as a consumer to build up my digital identity without the typical KYC initial hurdle necessarily, although that can be added.
Yeah. Another place, Benji, I thought of this was, I had COVID, not this Jan, but last January, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually got PPS insurance in South Africa. I don't know if you know of PPS.
I do. Yeah.
And I could have claimed from PPS.
Yeah.
Right? But at the time, you're like, I've got COVID. I'm dealing with this thing that's hit our home. Like, I'm not thinking, what am I going to get from insurance? Like, that's the last thing on my mind. And so, I really have been hoping that, could someone build an app that'll actually say to me, Anushka, you've purchased this insurance. And Anushka, you now went for a COVID test and it's come back positive because all this is coming into my wallet. And there's enough AI to say, claim from PBS or claim from here because you've got that product. Because I keep track of all of this. And they all go like rider benefit, this benefit, that benefit.
It's
I'm
so
like, I
confusing.
don't understand insurance. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in your camp. Tell me, how can we help you further? Because it sounds like you have a very good idea. It sounds like you have all the knowledge you need as well, to submit your proposal. Is there any support that you think you need from us?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've secured some funding already. We'll definitely submit a proposal to you. Refining the idea and selling the story is really hard. What I just did was, after telling the story 1,000 times, and it's changed a bit, ever so slightly in my mind, but selling SSI is not easy. So working with you, the immediate need that I can think of right now is just to help in refining my story and making more understandable. We're only bringing in payments to make the story more understandable, to be honest. Well, kind of. That's the one part of it. And from a technological point of view, we're bringing in the story also, payments also to have sights of when the transaction ends, and in so doing exchange credentials. But top of mind, that's what my immediate.
That's what you need.
Requirements, yeah.
Can I just clarify, when you say you're bringing in payments, what do you mean?
So at the outset of the journey, we were only after the verifiable digital receipts, no payments, because we wanted to stay lean. Then in validating the concept with all the parties engaging in a transaction as described, it wasn't really clear to everyone what the value add would be or how the process works. And it's kind of hard saying, look, we just want the data and we promise it's encrypted. Whereas our position now is to go back and say, look, we're actually just a payments company and we add value added. We open up an ecosystem to put value added services on top of your verifiable digital receipts. Is our current view is that that is a more understandable and mainstream approach. So that's why, and then we also sit on the integration becomes harder because we have to introduce payments, but it becomes easier in terms of getting access to the data at the right points in time.
Yeah. Okay. Like at the point of sale,
exactly.
If I buy the Mona Lisa, right, I'll get something that says that I own the Mona Lisa, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of idea, and it helps people understand the concept as adding like, hey, when you buy something, this is what you would get in return. It helps people understand. I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Instead of just saying like, oh, we'll just give you this thing. It's like, but people don't understand that.
They don't see the value yet.
Yeah, because it has to be some type of, people think in transactional values, not necessarily like, oh, we're just going to give you this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I'm following you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anushka,
do you already have a yeah? Sorry, Sean.
Sorry. I was just wanted to ask a question kind of related to Benji. One of the things that I don't understand yet with the credentials and SSI is what does that look like? Is it just one certification, digital certification, or can it be a document, like when the way of apprenticeship or the insurance, the whole insurance claim that you have with the company? I mean, what is it that we're putting out there? Is it just, yes, you earn this certification and it's a badge, or can it be more than a badge and can be the standards that come along with the apprenticeship or the information for the insurance, I guess is my question.
It depends on which libraries and tech stack you're using, but to the best of my knowledge, rich credentials refers to the ability to exchange any form of data, conforming to a published schema, and the clever cryptography folks have figured out a way to post the exchange of such a credential, allow for selective disclosure. So in other words, you would have a massive receipt, you bought 1,000 items, but you just want to show the Mona Lisa that you purchased. You can do that with all the clever SSI stuff that I didn't figure out. I just read the docs here. Yeah. But and then there's another format where there's a static, a schema? No, sorry, credential layout.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, there's a schema, but you do have some flexibility within it.
Yeah.
And when you when you start bringing in the idea of transactions, a lot of other things can get opened up in that, because you can have in a smart contract that would be your transaction, you can have your VC wrapped up in that, but you could also, if you wanted to, have like an NFT that's actually a document, not a picture or anything like that, but like an actual document of stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, but you're getting, pretty far down the line when you start talking, wrapping everything kind of up into that.
Yeah.
And I think, Sean, just to answer your question, I think, I'm not going to give you an answer, but I think as you start working on your use case and as you start understanding, I'm issuing something, but what is the verifier actually going to need, right? And you really want to share the information that other people want to reuse instead of sharing a whole lot of stuff that's never going to be reused, because all that data, someone has to keep and store and all of those things. However, if I am entering into a certain contract to purchase a car, to purchase a car, then I do normally get a little certificate thing saying you own this, or I get a little piece of paper saying the bank owns this until your loan is paid off. It's not really your car, but you must pay insurance on it, and all of those kinds of nice things. And all of the proof that is all of the pieces of data and information that's needed to go along with the other services you're getting using the same app within this ecosystem, I think that's what will make you decide on what data you put into a credential or what information you put into the credential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go to atalaprism.io, on our website, there's a demo. You can download the app on your phone, and that can show you, like, if you look at the different examples in there, they all hold different amounts of information. So that's just like a visual to see this one stores this thing, this one stores this thing. Like, it can show you the different things that can be stored, because there is a schema, but you can do a lot more than what the schema says.
Yeah.
Thank you. That helps. I got a lot of questions, but I'll save that for office hours and so forth. So thank you. Sorry to take up your time.
Oh, this is why we have this time. It's yours more than ours. Benji, do you already have an app?
We're busy building a proof of concept app. We don't have one in production yet. So.
Okay, lovely. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, looking
cool.
forward to showing it. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Let's move on to Brock. Your hand is up, Brock.
How are you doing today?
Fantastic, thanks. And you?
Oh, very good, thank you. I am not a tech person at all. I'm super interested in the self-sovereign identities and the potential of basically giving everyone globally an opportunity to have an equal playing field. That's how I kind of view it. For me personally, I'm an entrepreneur, and I do a lot of business transactions with various individuals. And for me to confidently transact with individuals, I would love to have some sort of a way to verify that they are accurately representing themselves or their product that they're offering, and be able to chime in, as it were, on how accurate I believe that they are representing themselves. So I've hired a developer to work along with in building a marketplace. And basically what I am searching for, because I'm not a high tech person, I basically long for the days where, you know, somebody gives you their word they're going to do something, or, you know, you do a handshake deal. That's very much the kind of person I am. And if I can verify that that individual would live up to that, then I'm going to transact with that individual. I don't care about any particulars other than their reputation, as it were. So when I'm looking at self-sovereign identity, I'm trying to visualize a way to implement something that would allow somebody with zero essentially experience be able to implement it, something simple. So like a 5-star rating system. And an example of that is like if you are hiring your landscaper and they say that, you know, they are going to deliver this specific landscape that they've, you know, sketched out for you and said, this is how we're going to do it. This is the expense. And you can trust us to do this because we are the best in the area. We're a 5-star rating, and they rate themselves that way. And you hire them and you find out that, okay, wait a minute, this is not as represented. You would be able to say, okay, well, we've entered this transaction, we've negotiated the price, you didn't deliver as per your specifications, so I'm going to say that you're actually more like a 3-star rating. And then others would be able to, in the future, look at that individual before hiring them to do the job and say, okay, they represent themselves as the best of the best, but the experience for their customers is, you know, above average. So do I want to transact with that individual who's misrepresenting themselves according to the perspective of their customers? Or like buying a used guitar, you know, if somebody says, look, this is a really cool Gibson guitar that is very unique. However, in the fretboard, the mother of pearl is delaminating right here and needs repair, or it's got a couple scratches here. And they're saying that, okay, it's actually, in my view, a 3 out of 5 for quality. And you go ahead and purchase it and you say, oh, well, wait a minute. This is actually, in my view, a 4 or a 5 out of 5, because those scratches are so minor that I can't even see them. The fix on that mother of pearl is insignificant. So I actually got a super good deal. That individual is shortchanging themselves, essentially, or giving me the better deal in the transaction, like in my own view. Then I would be more likely to want to transact with that individual in the future if they're completely transparent and representing their product or service in a very realistic way. So I'm not sure if that's kind of the whole point of the self-sovereign identity. And in my view, as an entrepreneur and wanting to transact with individuals globally, that basically would be the only thing necessary. I mean, obviously there's some factors you'd have to keep in check, like maybe I'm just a miserable guy who is always given like a 0 or a 1 star because nothing satisfies me. Then maybe future customers can say, you know what, I'm not going to trust that person's opinion and rating of this individual. I'm going to take that factor out of it and see, you know, what the most common consensus is of that individual, and then go ahead and proceed with the transaction. So I don't know if that's too simplified.
No,
but
you're good.
to me, I think that that could be something that would be an easy way to quickly implement on a large scale accountability and reputation, so that you can determine, choose for yourself, being self-sovereign, choose for yourself who you're willing to transact with based on their transaction history and how they represent themselves.
Yeah, and that is one of the verticals. The reputation is one of the verticals that we're focused on, and it's nice because it is the bottom up, right? Because you can rate anybody from without having any regulation or anything. Because I mean, like you have Yelp, right? Of course, the problem with Yelp is that you can't verify that somebody actually had a service or had an experience there. Whereas if you were using SSI, there would be some manner of which you can do that. One thing to consider, and this is something that I think Tony posed, is so what happens if I'm a person who's selling items, for example, I'm a marketplace, and I'm selling things, and people are giving me bad reviews because I'm slow at shipping or something like that. How do I go about rebuilding my reputation?
Don't screw up.
Yeah. I guess if the shipping aspect of it was your responsibility, and the difficulty was the fact that you had an enlarged procrastinate and wouldn't ship the items as you said the next day, and you waited for a week before you ship them, then there's accountability there. If the items are lost in transit, or it's an isolated instance where you have something that's run amok, then I don't think that it should be a permanent, indelible check against you that your whole reputation is just shattered. I think that there should be a way to be able to justify or explain the situation when it comes to a specific transaction if you do get that real negative review.
Yeah, it's something to consider, because like you could take this use case with the lawn care or purchasing something online, and you could apply it to other things too. Like you could even apply it to something like applying for jobs. Like you could have like a career reputation and things like that. And like if let's say like the standard for a seller or for a job or for whatever, if the standard is one thing today and in 5 years it changes, and now you have maybe a bad reputation about it, like how do you adjust for those things? So it's one of those things just to kind of keep in mind as to like how would somebody resolve any reputational issues that they have? How would we kind of in the future, how would somebody be able to resolve that? It's just something to kind of keep in mind as to how would we fix that.
Yeah, and also too, when you think about the quality, for example, of different products, like a handcrafted, like let's say for example, my uncle, he built a huge reputation for many years as a very skilled craftsman when it came to manufacturing knives, hunting knives, custom knives, and he went to rigorous efforts to test the quality of those knives before he let them head out the door. And as a result, he had very valuable knives. Well, the standards in which he built his knives to and the quality, even Jim, he would never assess his knife as a 10 out of 10. Always something that's not perfect, right? To, a perfectionist trying to build good quality things. The standard would vary compared to, maybe an area of third world country where you don't have the same steel available. You don't have the same manufacturing processes available, but that doesn't mean that knife in that area shouldn't be an 8 or a 10 out of 10 even. It should be in relation to the immediate area in which you live, your peers, and the assessment of what you're providing in relation to what's around you.
Yep. It's good that you're thinking about that.
And I would add also that we have a big field for experimenting this, because in Catalyst, we have the same problem with the community advisors that have to assess the proposals, and the proposers that they need some credential for their deliveries. So maybe this is something that we can experiment with.
Mm-hmm. Alison Fromm actually proposed that, or has that idea. I don't think she's actually proposed it yet, but yeah, she's been thinking about that.
I think it is an ongoing conversation from really a lot of months ago about this kind of credential that is the next step for the whole process to be, I don't know, for people to be accountable and verifiable when they basically assess the proposal. So
yeah, cool,
very cool.
Thanks, Brock. That's very interesting, thinking about reputation and how this could work in a simple way and not in a very complicated way. Definitely something that many people are potentially thinking about, but in terms of what that user experience should be or could be, is definitely something worth discussing with others, to refine what is this user experience going to be when it comes to reputation. Because all I can think of today is the fact that when I take an Uber, I can rate the Uber driver, but the Uber driver can also rate me. And that becomes some sort of reputation score, not just between me and him, because Uber has access to all of the data as a centralized organization. But I can also hear you starting to talk about how that reputation score could be used in the form of reviews that one gives. So now Pete wants to take an Uber and he says, oh, that person, well, Anushka gave them a 1, so I'm not going to use that person as my Uber driver. So I can see you starting to think about how this would work, and is it actually a credential? Is it not a credential? What is this actually? So I think working with Lucio, mentioned the CAs and how the Catalyst project is potentially starting to think about this. This could actually be quite a big reusable use case, but then refining what that user experience is going to be, and practically what are the things that are being exchanged to create this reputation, is also important. And I think when it comes to service providers and purchasers on the other side, or clients on the other side, I think it's fair to say, how is this person being rated amongst his peers in this area? But then if this person is producing knives that's sold in my area now, sitting here in South Africa, then I want to know, well, how is he producing it compared to what I can get locally? So it is this global marketplace that we're sitting in, and depending on whether that product is exported or not, or just sold locally, I think it's like, how does it rate within the area it's being purchased, more than how does it rate within the area that it's being created? Because my mom said to me, hey, you must buy goods from this particular area. I won't say it out loud. Do you get good quality from there? So like, you might guess where I'm talking about, but it's like you had a bad experience from one supplier, and now you think they're all like that from that area. It's so bad. So I really believe that there's value in it from a supplier perspective as well as a consumer perspective. So thanks for sharing that with us. Brock, before I let you off the hook, how would you like, during this week before proposal submission next week, what kind of support would you need, and from who?
Basically, I have no idea how the entire proposal system goes. Like, early on, I set up a stake pool with my brother's help because he's the tech guy in the family. I'm not. I'm a, you know, build it with my hands kind of guy. But I developed an interest in the technology when I read the infamous, or read, when I watched the infamous Whiteboard with Charles. What a jerk. Ruined my life. No, but yeah, I really love the concept or the ideas behind the technology and use cases and how it potentially could revolutionize everything and give us an opportunity to start from ground zero, as it were, and rebuild systems that we rely on every day. So I really like that idea, and I got involved with Catalyst early. I think with Fund 3 was the first one that we could vote in, which I was able to vote in Fund 3, 4, and 5. I think, I don't know, but the record's there somewhere. But then I stopped voting because I don't have a technical background. I don't understand, okay, this team realistically could accomplish this, or these guys are a scam. I didn't know. And with my voting power, because I was committed to securing the ecosystem early on, I put in a lot of pledge with my business partner to kind of counteract all the multi-pool players out there. At least that was our thinking. And so I had, in my view, a fairly weighted vote, and I didn't want to skew the effectiveness of the community by, you know, just guessing, oh, that sounds like a good idea, hopefully this person could develop it. That wasn't, I felt awkward with that, so I stopped voting because I didn't want to accidentally, you know, squander funds for the community where, you know, somebody could be as obvious as the nose in your face that that is a scam. Well, it's not that obvious to me. So I just stepped away from that and kind of looked for ways that I could, in my way, start building things out. So with Bias Vineyards, with the QR code Scan Trust QR code project that Andrew Thornhill worked with them on, to me that was like, oh, this is exactly use case for blockchain, like track and traceability with the QR code that secures everything, make sure that, you know, the owners of the business are creating the hash, entering it onto the blockchain and putting metadata on so that you can, you know, understand exactly how their wine was produced, how you should consume it, you know, when it was produced, all the details, and see the chain of custody. That was like, I want to be in on that. So I reached out to them to work with them on something, some NFT project. And it's through them, through Andrew, that I was able to hire a developer to start building out a marketplace for dummies, for lack of a better term, for people like me. I see the value of the technology, but everything is so daunting. Everything is so new right now. I wanted just an easy way. Okay, how do I create an NFT? I'm not interested in, you know, making more monkeys with cigars and donkeys with sombreros, stuff like that. I view NFTs as an actual digital receipt of a valid transaction. So like Bias Vineyards, you're getting award-winning wine from a family that has kept up traditional winemaking methods that have been in Tbilisi for thousands of years. And it's all organic products. Well, my business partner is a farmer. He would love to be organically farming, but he can't afford to do that. Whereas many people in the world are forced to do that because they can't afford to put in more inputs into their crop. And yet they're growing organic products and not being supplemented for the carbon remuneration, like the carbon that's being extracted out of the environment. And I think that if we can build a marketplace through Web3, and when I think of Web3, I think of, okay, well, let's build something that's self-sustainable, but it's working for the benefit of everyone indiscriminately, and giving everybody an equal platform to say, okay, this is our launch pad, let's go from there. So the way I looked at it was to try and build something so I can show that these are my intentions, is to contribute to the community how I can, which, you know, so far is not a great big deal, because of the fact that I want the marketplace to be on a full node, deadless wallet, everything there. And that's, at least for the developer I'm working with, is not an easy task. And so we're just patiently working along, doing things, and he's been able to get me to mint on the marketplace and do stuff like that. And I think that that's a huge thing, because I didn't even know how to retweet a little while ago, let alone minting NFTs and being able to get involved in this community. So that's something that I think is important, but I have no idea how to get involved into the community more, even though I know that it's this community, in my opinion, that is actually going to deliver viable products and viable solutions. Because in my view, when I researched blockchain, I only wanted to really get into infrastructure, and the way Cardano's built, in my mind as an entrepreneur and a business owner, is a blockchain that I would entrust my financials to and my identity to, because of how it's built. Whereas other blockchains, I don't have that confidence in. So that's why I'm here.
Wow, excellent.
But I don't know exactly where to go. So I think I need to, basic training.
Okay.
I think.
So tell you what, Brock, I'd suggest, so I like the concept of the marketplace that you're talking about, and the fact that you said wine made me realize that Lohan and myself and Tony were like thinking of this moonshot that we were going to create with SSI, and it's going to be a global moonshot. This is a few years ago, right? I didn't drink the wine. And I said, guys, I know of a lady who sells wine. So let's try and build something SSI that allows me to send you some wine from South Africa to you, wherever you are overseas. And let's then write and tell the world that this is what we were able to do, and this is how they can check it out. So I'll take you up on that offer. I'll go find the auntie that sells wine, and we can test out your marketplace. This is not IO speaking, eh? This is Anushka speaking now, just a disclaimer. But
That's awesome.
yeah, that's a really exciting use case. I definitely suggest, so what it does sound like, you know, you are talking about reputation, you are talking about marketplace. I'm still not sure whether there's a clear, the idea fits in SSI versus accelerating decentralized identity. I'll say take this week to book a few more half-hour sessions with myself, Lohan, Pete, Tony. You know, it'll cost you 2 hours of your life, half an hour each of ours. And then let's see where it goes and how we can help guide you as to where you potentially could go next. That sounds fantastic.
That would be awesome. So how do I book that? Because I didn't even, like, literally, I am not tech literate. Okay. So today I missed the first part of the meeting because I wasn't able to do the calendar properly. I'm that bad. And you know, I'm not going to misrepresent myself when it comes to that, but I am wanting to be involved in it more and learn how to use the tools that make sure that I'm on top of things. So do I just go into the chat right now to the different posts and try to schedule a meeting with you and then work through the...
If you go into the chat, there's a message from Lohan that has his updated link. There's one from me that has mine, and Anushka, and I think she updated hers, and Tony's in that original post. His actually works. The rest of us were slacking apparently. So what you do is when you click that link, it'll open a window, and on that window, it's literally there's days that are available. You just pick a date and a time, and you're in. It sends us a request, marks it on our calendar, and then if you're using a phone or whatever that has your calendar built in, it'll add it to your calendar, and then we just join. That's all. It's pretty simple.
Oh. You say that, but I can screw it up.
Okay,
It's as
try while
simple
we're
as it can
online. You
get.
still have us. You still have us for 20 minutes, and I've sent you directly all 4 links, so you can choose a spot to book with each of us. Half an hour session. You can try it now, and if you have any questions, just shout, and Pete will help you again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you sent me directly a link right here in the chat.
Yeah, in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
You should see something that's a private message. Yep.
Yes, I do.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really excited about the whole community. My experience so far has been everything good. It's amazing how much support that we get from everyone, and I'm sorry that it's taken me a while to, get my ducks in a row to realize the tools at hand that, can make it so that things happen. But it's a learning curve, and it's awesome to be able to learn alongside some very talented individuals who have a true desire to make things better. It's very refreshing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brock. Venus, it's your turn.
Hello, everybody. Actually, I also have problems with my time management, so I joined probably 15 minutes ago or so, so I missed quite a lot. But I want just to say that my friend and myself, we tried to apply like during last funding round, and we had an idea related to, let's say, broad idea related to disinformation. And again, we had problems with time, so we applied probably last day available and so on. So they were not very good in explaining everything, and result also was not the best. But still, we kind of have this idea, and we think that it would be good or useful for Cardano community and for the whole world. I mean, managing this information, because you see, it starts from very small things and could lead to very big ones. And then already, as I said, I already missed the explanation in which stream we have to apply if we want to apply. Meaning SSI or the other stream, which is also related to Atala, probably, right? And the question I have is just, based on that small introduction, whom would be best to contact for office hours so that we can kind of discuss and expand on that?
Okay, so what is your use case? Do you want to share with us just a little bit?
So in essence, you see, so the broad topic is disinformation management, right? And there are many ways how to tackle that. But one of them is via identity management. So even if a person is identifiable as a human being and not a piece of software, it's already a lot, right? So one could completely, be, how should I say it, hidden or not disclose his personal, his personality as a person, but still, if he or she is at least identifiable as a human being, is already a big thing, because people tend not to do crazy stuff, if they know at least that they are identifiable, So this is a kind of very simple feature, right? And it has very huge consequences. So it means that, if we know that this is a person, so, you at least know that, most likely he will be less motivated to do some bad things, let's say like this. On the other hand, if he shares a link, you probably know that maybe it's not too dangerous to click that link and so on, because this was human being that shared that link, and this human being is identifiable on this planet. So these are very fundamental ideas, but one needs to start with probably more, kind of narrowed use case or business case. And this is what we'd like to discuss during office hours. So where to apply, and probably a bit in which direction we should go, that, we don't, kind of present a case which probably was already presented, or probably, being developed within Cardano community, or other teams that work.
Okay. Pete, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so it sounds like it's kind of like it's like a reputational thing, but also you want to add in the kind of the verification that I'm a human, so it's not a bot kind of deal. Kind of like what Lucio brought up with the Catalyst community. So you need to verify it's a person, so you don't have these bots and things kind of doing it for your use case where it's kind of disinformation and kind of stuff like that. So you still have that component of it. And then like with the reputational score, kind of like what Brock was talking about, is like you would have some type of a reputation, kind of like I don't want to say social reputation because that doesn't sound quite right, but like you would have like a reputation as like an individual, is like, oh, well, this person's constantly posting, crazy conspiracy theories or something like that, or articles that they wrote that have no basis in reality or something to that effect. And you would be able to have a reputation kind of built on the information that you're sharing. And you could even apply that to like large news organizations like Sky or CNN or whatever. You could do something like that. So it's definitely it's definitely a use case that can be repeatable. And it definitely fits into the reputation from, again, the bottom up. So it sounds like you have a good case for the decentralized identity challenge. Who would be best? I think any of us would probably be good to talk to. Tony, Anushka, Lohan, or myself. But yeah, it sounds like you have a repeatable idea that's in one of the verticals that we're kind of focused on. So yeah.
Okay, so
go ahead and book office hours with any of us, and the four of us are also supporting the self-sovereign identity challenge, because the topic is overlapping. And as we support, we can then say, okay, it sounds like your proposal goes into that one and not this one. But the four of us are supporting both challenges anyway, alongside Rodolfo and the other challenge team. So yeah, please go ahead, book time with us, and we can chat further. I just wanted to clarify, you said you've already submitted a proposal. Was that into Catalyst 7?
Yeah, so it was in Catalyst 7, correct. But we want to refine this idea and probably kind of focus a bit more, because you see what I'm talking or what I just talked, it's a very broad and very fundamental thing, but we want to define a bit more, kind of tangible use case and present that. Because if we say we want to make world a better place, like it's very difficult to understand what we mean exactly by that. But if we have a bit more narrowed use case, so that maybe it's easier to explain, and at the end of the day to implement, and to start the whole process rolling.
Yes, absolutely. And then did you submit the proposal into the Accelerate Decentralized Identity Challenge last time?
No, there was some kind of challenge in Fund 7, which was a bit related to disinformation and so on. So we submitted into that stream. And
okay,
again, it was not exactly that, but it was some kind of challenge related, a bit closer related to disinformation.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this in Fund 8, this topic is gone. So now we are, we thought, we kind of get experience, we refine and we propose in Fund 8, and now we see that this, this topic is gone. So now we, say, still from technology point of view, one of the key ingredients is, self-sovereign identity or decentralized identity management. So then, we say, we have to lean into that direction or into that stream. But this is a bit of experience.
Okay, Vidas, just one question I think we need to think about, right? So you're saying differentiate between a bot and a human because the human is more likely to be trusted. But it's the humans that are writing these bad bots anyway. So I don't know how well they can be trusted. So just something to think about in this proposal that you're planning to submit, but we'll see you in office hours.
Sure. I mean, this was a bit, like easy example to understand, right?
Yes.
Just, in 1 or 2 minutes, but we have many ideas, and to some extent, maybe this is a challenge. If you have too many choices, it's very difficult to choose one, right?
Yeah. My advice to you would be like, pick one, start small and grow from there.
Yeah, so this is our goal, but probably we also would need a bit of advice, in which direction.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for joining us. I know we have like 9 minutes left, but I see there's 2 Michael Senkers on the call. Does the other Michael want to speak to us?
Yeah, he's quite talkative too, actually. Yeah. No, it was just I needed to use 2 computers kind of at the last minute. So thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll tell him though. Thanks for asking.
Funny.
Hey, Mike.
Okay.
They don't need you, Mike.
Funny. Okay. So there's just a few of us on the call. Are there any other questions and thoughts that have come up that you have to ask or want to say?
I have a question, just kind of with writing the insight first to start. How they say not to do a proposal, but do you need to kind of hint at the proposal in the insight, or just the broader concept of, like for me, work-based learning credentials on Atala Prism? What's some insight into writing the insight?
I think
Lucio, this is your question.
Okay, basically, this is what we've done today. The idea of the insight stage is just to have a week to discuss within the community about how to tackle the challenge, how to identify the possible solutions, possible problems, and how to address the challenge itself. So it's not. It's more about talking about the idea that are around the challenge itself, and basically not focusing on your specific solution, but talk about maybe some problem that you identified for your solution. And this kind of conversation could create some insight about for the community itself, because maybe you can just browse the challenge, the insight in the challenge, and you will find maybe some use case that it's suitable for your solution, for your proposal, or something that you want to integrate. So basically, this is the idea of this first week of the fund, just to share ideas around the challenges itself.
So is there anything that needs to be submitted, Lucio?
Not this week. It's not mandatory to submit anything. Just if you want. Obviously, the knowledge of the community about the topic will grow. But from Thursday will start actually the real submission stage for the proposals, and you will have 1 week to submit the first draft of your proposal. It's not to be the final version. You will have 2 more weeks to incorporate the feedback that you will receive from the community and to finalize everything. But to submit the proposal, you will have only the next week, basically from the 24th through the 3rd of March.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'll just kind of maybe in the insight share, speak to maybe the high value credentials and what I think could be a high value credential maybe as a starting point. Okay, great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Fantastic.
As somebody new to the space, like Cardano, and there's conversation in Discord and on IdeaScale and various places. And I've actually posted more than one idea for the Fund 8 in SSI, and I'm just kind of wondering. And actually, there has been some interaction there, but am I right thinking I shouldn't expect that there's going to be a huge amount of interaction necessarily, and can I gauge that, or and also I know people that really know. I know that people are busy, and so I guess I'm kind of feeling because as I said earlier, that these ideas that I feel like I'm bringing in kind of like really edgy ideas sort of thing, and I'm just not sure how it's landing, and if I, because we don't have a great deal of inputs, at least from the ideas so far, but how am I doing, kind of thing, I guess you could sort of say.
Where are you looking for feedback at? You said Discord and Atala and IdeaScale. Where was it at?
Yeah, like for example, in IdeaScale in the SSI challenge.
Okay.
And I have connected with a couple of people in Discord, but I guess more informally. Well, Rodolfo's one of them, actually, and I can imagine he's really busy right now, but so any thoughts on that?
It varies. So it depends. So like in Catalyst, you sometimes the feedback and stuff in there takes a few days, because I don't know if the community at large jumps in there like on a daily basis necessarily. I know from time to time, like we'll jump in there and take a look around and see what there is in Discord. Are you talking about the IOG technical community, or are you talking about something else?
Oh, that's a good question. And I'm new to,
I know there's a ton of them.
I don't remember.
There is also the project Catalyst server in Discord.
Yeah, I think I'm on that one.
Okay,
but I'll have to make sure.
And there is also there are specific channels for each challenge. So probably if you already talked with someone about your specific challenge, probably you are in the Project Catalyst Discord server.
I think so. That I'm attending another weekly meeting tomorrow of developers. So that's very interesting as well.
Yeah, in general, I think it could be hard to get valuable feedback, because as you have seen, there are a lot of proposals, so it's kind of, I don't know, not really easy. But in general, I think the best way is probably start building relationships with other people, because it's kind of, I don't know, in this way we are talking, we are, I don't know, 18 people we were in this call, but the value of the conversation was really high. So probably in general, the best way is always to stick with someone you see there is some connection, some affinity about some specific topics. And I think, at least in my experience, this was the way I built more relationships, because when you talk with someone, it's just, I don't know, a chain, and you start meeting other people. So it's it's not easy to get feedback only in idea scale, because also for the platform, it's not really user friendly, but in general, you have to insist, and I'm pretty sure that you will find some valuable advices.
That's great. Thank you very much, Lucio. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And
The other thing to keep in
I found this.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind too is the Cardano community is huge, and the Atala Prism community inside of the Cardano community, it's not very big yet. So it may take a little bit of time to get feedback and stuff from different people, because it is a smaller subset within the larger Cardano community. So keep that in mind too. But I see that Rodolfo is in the Catalyst channel on Discord. But yeah, that's a great place to get people. I know a lot of our pioneers were in the Discord for Fund 7, the Catalyst community one, for them, and there was a lot of good feedback there. So yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, I will confirm that I'm in there and learn more about that. Thanks very much. It's very informative and interesting, and nice to meet you all here today.
Thanks to all of you for making this a rich conversation and sharing what you're thinking and your insights as well. It certainly does motivate us to keep doing what we're doing as a team. And if there's anything we can help you with or support you with, as we said, book office hours with us and we'll willingly assist you. Lucio, over to you.
Okay,
thank you for being a great host.
Could I ask one quick question? Will this, Anushka, will the slide deck that you presented, will that be available for us to have?
Lucio, do you share the slide deck with people, or how does this work?
Yep, if you want to, yes. The only thing I think it's now it's not available for the public, so you have to change the permission.
Yep.
Will we just share the link to that particular slide deck then, or will you email the slide deck to them, or how would this work?
Okay, I think maybe we will upload this workshop on YouTube. Maybe we can add in the description the link to the whole slide deck, so it could be useful for people who will watch it later. What do you think?
How would we find that on YouTube?
They'll send out links to that stuff usually, like all the videos that were recorded. I think, Lucio, usually that stuff gets emailed out to everybody. And Anushka, we can talk about the link and stuff. It's a slightly different process than our normal process to share stuff publicly.
So Lucio, let us three discuss it on Slack, and then we'll figure out how to share it with everyone. But everyone will receive a link to the slides.
Okay, cool, perfect.
Okay,
and so to wrap up, I will just share here the link to the various channels of the Catalyst School.
Oh, good.
So in general, we have a Catalyst School Discord server, a Telegram channel, the YouTube, where we basically collect all these kind of workshops, and also the Twitter account. And we will have also soon a website to collect all the material that we are creating for the various part of the process. So in general, if you have any question, or do you want to attend workshop specific maybe for write a proposal or just to be more informed about the process itself of Catalyst, you can find in this link here our next workshops. And tomorrow at 18 UTC, there will be a workshop specifically for proposing in Catalyst. So obviously we will not cover the specific of each challenge, but it will be useful to have some insight on how to write a proposal, how will be the process, what are the topics to focus on when you are writing a proposal and stuff like that. So in general, if you want more information about the process itself, please reach out. We are really happy to help you. And that's it. Thank you all for joining today. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. It was great meeting you all.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.